Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Nikita, for joining. I'm really happy to actually see you here.
Really
How
happy
are
to hear.
you? How are you feeling?
Not bad, not bad. Can't complain.
A day after work.
Yes, it was a very long day at work, so
Oh, so even more thank you for joining and for being here. How are the allergies and the intensity of that right now? How's that?
at this point it's all over the place again. So trying to control everything.
Mm, I can imagine, especially with this time of the year. So that's why I actually really want to talk a bit more about these kind of details because I think they're quite missed. So yes, I'm looking forward to just sharing this. And like this, you get to actually have a look at the other side of the somatic work and how they like bridge together, because I think that's really important. So let me just wait for Ben, for Shauna. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, there we go. All right. The technicalities were not in my favor today. So I'm just organizing this. Okay, here we go. And let's just see. All right, Shauna's here. Hopefully Ben will be able to join soon. I'm just going to kickstart this, and feel free to either write in the chat, or if you would like to actually ask a question, just use the raise hand button at the bottom. There's the react, and then you can click the raise hand from there, just so that I won't stop the flow, so that I can go through the information as best as possible, as efficiently as possible. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen with you and just let me know that you can see it. Okay, can you see my screen? You can give me like a thumbs up or something, whatever, or just say yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to share a little bit more about why I wanted to create the art of detox and cleansing, just because it is the month of spring, and April now is that time where actually cleansing would be very, very beneficial for the body. And it's needed to drive more energy and to actually release a lot of the built up stagnation from the winter. So that accumulated waste, especially because the body is more stiff and more rigid, needs movement. And that comes naturally with the sun coming out and with us feeling lighter and just the ability even for longer days. But there's also the art of cleansing. And I wanted to specify on that because people throw around supplementation, they throw around the herbs, the cleanses, without actually understanding that mixing certain things or the timing is very important and very dependent on the individual, whether you're on medication, whether you are having underlying infections already or co-infections, or you have a history of certain organs being a little bit, let's say, overburdened, like the kidneys. Maybe you have a past of urinary tract infections, etc. So that's all relevant because it's going to affect the efficacy of the cleanse itself. And apart from that, we're going to address the spiritual component to cleansing as well, because they're not separate. So for those who are going to be rewatching this, just so you know a little bit of who I am and what I do, I'm an MBC, WHC. That's a very long term, a long classification. I'm specialized in autoimmune disease mostly. I've done different specializations in a holistic approach to cancer, diabetes, but I chose to mainly focus on autoimmune especially that's one close to my heart, having passed through those certain diagnoses myself in 2017. And I focus a lot on cellular regeneration. This is basically bioregenesis over biohacking. So I really believe in creating cellular health, understanding why our body is struggling to begin with. And usually using quantum biology, we can really work. Quantum biology and quantum physics, we can really work to bring the body back into harmony. I also have a background in Chinese medicine, so I weave that in. I'm a somatic and energy entrainment practitioner. By energy entrainment, it's always going into the more subtle realms of the quantum, which is basically smaller than matter, than the physical matter that we can see. I am also trained in somatic psychotherapy tools and the polyvagal theory. I trained in Qin Tsung, which is a specific type of internal organ detox massage and myofascial maneuvers. And you can find more about what I do on my Instagram, Embodied with Tara, and also Science and Soul as a podcast on YouTube as well. Okay, so what we're going to cover today, we're going to cover the different types of pathogenic, so bacterial, viral, etc., load like candida, HPV, herpes, strep, EPV, even long COVID, because that is something that people are also struggling with, parasites, and alongside the energetics and consciousness architecture behind parasitic entities, or why we tend to get sick. Because sometimes, of course, you're questioning, okay, why did this have to happen to me? Like, why am I constantly struggling? And there is usually a consciousness component to that. Then we have the neurotransmitters and how certain pathogens are actually utilizing neurotransmitters as their food source, how energetic hooks and open energy fields can impact specific meridian channels. And I'm going to show you how we can begin supporting ourselves. And this is all going to highlight whenever we're working with cleansing and detox work. This is even in ancient practices where they go to the extent of, ayahuasca, using specific plant medicines. That creates a lot of purging. And this is why people have the deeper spiritual experiences, because they're tapping into the quantum realm and they're tapping into certain aspects of consciousness. And it's also going to dig up a lot of the victim archetype, self-sacrifice, self-abuse, and all of these patterns that have run through generations. Remember, we inherit up to 7, even 9 generations before us. And it's very important that, you're doing this healing work, so you're also impacting the ones that are coming after you. We're going to cover the symptoms and the ailments that are commonly misunderstood or mistreated, especially when the underlying pathogenic load is not addressed. Again, the symptoms are never the root cause. They are, I call them surface signaling, because it's almost like an irritation. It's something that is showing, the body's like showing you, hey, like I need you to look further. And I'm also going to guide you with the timing windows and the role of the lunar cycles in cleansing and recovery, and why redox, I'll explain, before detox is essential, and preparing the body in that. So I do want to make a disclaimer, okay, that this is a workshop that doesn't go in depth. It's not one-to-one tailored. It's very important that you consult with your own medical professional, your chosen health practitioner, whether it's me, someone else, it doesn't matter, as long as you're making sure that you're using your own discernment and you take what resonates, you leave what doesn't, okay? It's not meant to act or replace as any medical advice. So it's for educational purposes. And if you have questions, please ask. So I show this funnel a lot, and this is your body's drainage funnel. Now, it's really important to note in cleansing that we have to follow this specific hierarchy to healing. When we're being sold on Instagram, all over social media, everywhere, inundated, buy this product, it's great for you, this does that, it's amazing. We're told so many things and given so many promises, but it doesn't matter if you have a blocked drainage funnel, or I like to even call it like this, clogged up. Imagine you have a bucket and it's just murky and clogged up and it's full, you haven't emptied it, there's no drainage, and you keep on filling and pouring inside. It's not actually cleaning itself out. Okay, it's really important that we have a drainage funnel that is essentially cleaning out what we don't need anymore. So we start from the bottom, not the top. So we're always going to start from the colon, which is that digestion, the essential part of digestion and elimination. So the elimination part is important because the bowel movements are necessary. Now, what leads to the bowel movement? It is motility. It's the movement, the muscles that engage to actually enhance that movement throughout the digestive system, throughout our intestines, and then, of course, eliminating. Especially from women, I hear a lot, oh, I go to the bathroom like once every 2 days or 3 times a week, like it's normal. And I'm like, no, it's absolutely not normal, my love. Not normal. That is not a good thing. It's really important to note that if the colon is blocked, is stagnant, and you're not actually circulating and moving things out, toxins are going to recirculate back into the bloodstream and it's going to go back to the liver. Okay, so I'm going to go next to the liver and the bile ducts. Those are crucial for detoxification, and we'll get to that. Then you have the lymphatic system. So the lymph is like the pump that actually has no heart to pump it out like our veins. So it needs movement constantly. And very gentle movement. It doesn't need intense movement, just even simple brushing, shaking, vibrations. That's why sound is very powerful for healing, shaking it off, dancing, walking, rebounding. Then we have the organs and the tissues. By this, I want to focus mostly on the lymphatic system, which is the brain, and the detoxification that occurs mostly at night from the brain downwards. And everything has to move down into the subclavian veins. Now, most of our waste deposits on the left side, about 80% of our metabolic waste, and then the remainder goes to the right. A lot of people are very stagnant in this area because of poor posture. We're having forward head posture. People who are in kyphosis, so they're actually shoulders rolled and collapsed forward. Everything's blocked and constricted. See, it matched the body. Constricted, and there is no flow. So things aren't moving properly. And again, there's the emotional component, so we're going to get to that. But without proper drainage, this is where we start to get a backflush. And we see, apart from skin issues, hives, etc., we're also going to see fluid retention, people getting chronic infections, etc. So if I can summarize, because I wanted you to see that drainage funnel, digestion, we have to optimize stomach acid production and enzyme production, which comes a lot from our nervous system, our beliefs, our self-worth. Rarely does it come from food alone, where people are having digestive issues. It always has an influence from emotional input and output. So it's really important to know, because I have a lot of clients, and especially women, if you're over the age of 35, it's very crucial that you support your liver even more, because we need that support of mobilizing estrogen, as then we begin to, the body begins to shift with its hormonal production and metabolization, let's say the usage and clearance of these hormones. But essentially, most women are coming to me and saying, oh, I have so much heartburn or acid reflux. I'm having pain. I feel uncomfortable. I get really bloated. That's all coming from stomach acid production and enzyme optimal function production. Then the colon, that's motility, also nervous system related. If one is holding a lot of grief in their body that they haven't processed, that is going to also translate from the lungs into the large intestine. In Chinese medicine, the lungs open up to the large intestine. So we would often see people unable to let go, right? Like that inability to let go, which leads to the constipation. The colon then is also responsible for mast cell activation syndrome stabilization. And this, in other words, in more simple terms, we have specific mast cells and specific gene types as well. And when the nervous system and the immune system is overstimulated, it's going to affect the defense, the defense from the immune system. And certain mast cells are increased, and this causes a lot of histamine intolerance. Food sensitivities, you react to everything. You can't take a single supplement because you react to it. It makes you feel sick. That is, your bucket is so overloaded from all levels that you just can't, the body can't take any more input. The example I love the most is the balloon. It's almost like, think of every input is blowing into that balloon a bit more, blowing in, that balloon expands until it's really hard. So the only way you can actually relieve that air is by letting go a little bit, right? So then we have the liver and the biliary output, bile flow. This is super important for phase 1, 2, and 3 of detoxification. It's a filtration interface organ. I like to call it that because people think, oh, I'm just going to detox my liver and that's how my whole body is going to feel good. But the liver is just going to be responsible for moving the toxins into the actual digestive system, into the rest of the other organs where the process needs to continue taking place. So if the other organs aren't strong enough or your other elimination pathways aren't strong enough, it's only doing half the job. Okay, so the liver is responsible for your hormone metabolization and metabolism, fat digestion alongside the lymph, because the lymph is also responsible for circulating certain fats and progesterone. And also it's going to help you with digestion, because I like to explain how the liver produces bile, and bile is antibacterial. So we're going to explain that a bit later on. Then we have the kidneys, which is your filtration system. In Chinese medicine, the kidneys are also associated with your life force energy, even associated with the element of water. And water is abundant. It's absolutely abundant, and it holds memory. So even if you're recalling memories in your life, or the body is, you think you process something, but then you go to start a new job and you go into a freeze, or you change country, or you think, oh, I'm feeling good, I'm about to go into this change, and then your body goes into a freeze response. The kidneys are being activated, or let's say a little burdened energetically. So it affects our mineral response as well, our mineral balance, because think of it like this: when a kid is scared, right, sometimes they pee their pants. The bladder, the kidneys, they lose a bit of that chi, that life force, and something has to give, right? So what happens in adults later on is that it just starts to affect it in a slightly different way. Then we have the lymphatic system. This is your tissue toxin drainage, fat metabolism, immune system, and trauma resides in the lymph. I'm going to talk about that soon. And cells, your mitochondria. Okay, this is where your energy is formulated. This is cellular programming, mitochondrial health, all of this electrical charge, as well as heavy metals. So if there's heavy metals found in the system, that's going to affect a lot what other metals are absorbed. It's like there's a competition. This is something I see a lot in people who have experienced the vaccination, the COVID vaccines. There is going to be a certain level of metals in the system that need clearing, but it has to be done in a very safe way and a very strategic way. You can't just go about it because it can be very dangerous. All right, guys, do you have any questions at all? I want to make sure that, please put them in the chat if you do. I'm really bad at like finding you guys. Let me just see. Why is it paused? No. Okay. I need to. Yep. I tried to find you and now I lost you. 1 sec. There we go. Okay. Okay. You know what I'm going to ask you from you? If you would like to speak, just unmute yourselves, because raise the hand and unmute yourselves, because I literally can't find any other screen. All right. So cleansing isn't just physical. It's really important to support the body through trauma integration and cellular memory when cleansing the body. So during the physical detox, these imprints are always going to resurface. Trust me, this has been the depths of my work and with myself especially. So when you explore this somatic work, even family constellation therapy, IFS, internal family systems, craniosacral therapy is great, especially for people who have had head trauma. Other body-based, by body-based, I mean a bottoms-up approach. Talk therapy is a top-to-bottom approach. Body work is a bottoms-up approach. Those are very, very important. And this is why I do the work that I do and combine them together, because they are extremely supportive. You're going to move through memory. At times, the body will create a certain symptom because it's working through an emotional memory. Most people will never think that. I mean, I never thought that. And yet, always when I've moved through certain things, for example, when I move through things with my maternal line, things coming up with the mother, I would always have a flare in my left wisdom tooth. And the wisdom teeth literally hold a lot of ancestral wisdom. Things are going to come up. So I would have that. And I would have a lot of flares, like my left rib, something I injured a long time ago, many times. All of that guarding, it would always come up and flare. And it's so important to know that it is not personal, it's pattern, always. So the other thing is learning the Chinese orrery clock, which is really good at helping you understand the timing of the organs associated with what time, and then the emotions. So this is the clock. So you have the heart, very active at noon. You have the small intestine between 1 and 3 p.m. That's the best time it's going to be absorbing food. You also might feel a little low energy. You can have a nap. Most people, unfortunately, can't. The bladder, this is where your energy is restored at around 4 p.m. The kidneys, the best time to charge your energy is between 5 to 7 p.m. Now, interestingly enough, the first kidney meridian that we have is on the base of our foot, on the balls of our foot. So that's the K1 meridian. That's why it's important to ground on the earth, and you're really bringing up those ions from the earth, the negative ions from the earth, that's helping to charge your meridians. So that's really helping with grounding you. And best to do those things at between 5 to 7 p.m., even if it's just 5 minutes. Okay. And that goes on for the rest. You know, you can literally type Chinese orrery clock. You can take a photo of this if you like. I always suggest, even if you wake up, you're a person that wakes up at night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Usually it's associated with these, all of those different types of organs. Many people sometimes tell me they're waking up at 2 a.m. and I'm like, okay, liver, we need to work on that. So there's always these kind of little things that I like to ask when it comes to questions. The liver is going to represent anger, frustration, resentment, irritability. When we are not dealing with those emotions and there's a lot of unprocessed anger, frustration, etc., it's going to overburden that particular organ, which then means that organ doesn't have enough energy to do its other tasks, you know, like metabolizing the medicine you're taking or the drink you took last Saturday, or it's going to struggle with metabolizing more fats if you decided to have a curry and then more chocolate that day, because it's already stagnant, it's slow, you know, it's struggling a little. Then we have the heart, that fire element. Now, when it's a little imbalanced, you might either experience this excessive joy, overexcitement, it's like frantic, or it goes into shock. It can lead to insomnia, palpitations, anxiety. Then the spleen, the earth element, holds worry, pensiveness, overthinking. The spleen is like, I like to say it's like the processor of the emotion. So if you're constantly like, you know, your mind is really active, you might need to nourish the spleen. And I know it sounds a little crazy, but something extremely simple one can do, putting the color yellow in their kitchen, around them, bowls, that's really stimulating for the spleen. And it's actually, color is extremely, extremely healing. And even the church knew this. That's why they used a lot of color in the glass, tinted glass, and the sunshine. But that's very, very stimulating for specific organs. Then we have lung, the metal element, sadness, grief, melancholy. So this is what consumes a lot of that lung chi. When I used to hold a lot of grief, and I passed through so much grief growing up and in adolescence as well, and then on top of that, I layered my bodybuilding, which was a lot of lat work, latissimus dorsi work around in the back. I couldn't even rotate. I was accumulating so much tension and poor breathing mechanics that I couldn't even rotate. And this really also affects your ability for the lymph and your fluid to circulate. So even if you struggle with your movement, that's already a sign that we need a bit more fluidity in the body. And I'm going to explain further. Then we have the kidneys, water element. This is fear, fright, insecurity, okay, which depletes the energy. And even if you're constantly in fear and overthinking what's going to happen, and we're infiltrated with fear from the media, and this is why I highly recommend being very cautious and mindful of what you consume and what news you're also consuming. Because the goal of certain systems is to actually keep one in a state of fear so that they are unable to be full of their life force energy and to act from there. Okay? Just really wanted to emphasize that. Now, where do you guys live? If you can just like tell me where you live, like in a city, in a town, like where do you live? By the sea, on an island like me? I live in the Mediterranean. Where are you right now? Oh, I found the chat.
In a town.
Okay, so Nikita's in a town, island, amazing. Okay. Now, when it comes to this, like it depends on the drinking water and the water that you're using. The hierarchy of water is going to be moving from the most natural and beneficial state to, unfortunately, the processed state that certain municipal sources are doing and how they create their filtration. The highest grade of water is going to be pure spring water. And that usually comes from people who are at higher altitudes, on mountains. I'm in awe of that because they have such charged water. I have friends who literally live in the mountains or by the mountains, even my friends in Thailand, and the purity of the water is very different because you're actually having that charge from the rocks itself and that spiral formation that's happening there. Groundwater, the forest groundwater, is a lower grade, which includes the specific water that doesn't emerge naturally. So it's like a well or a reverse osmosis. The word. Damn, I forgot the word. Oh my God. Okay. Well, you know, the large water reserves that they have that are like a massive, massive well. And that has to be forced from the ground. And then you have the town supply, the lowest grade in the hierarchy. And this is going to be considered a lesser grade because it's collected by the municipalities and they're treated. They are treated with various chemicals. I mean, unfortunately, even here in Malta, well, Malta is actually worse than Gozo. I live in Gozo. But in Malta, I remember even smelling the chlorine from the water. So depends how much fluoride they're treating with or chlorine. And just please know that the water plays a very crucial role, okay? Most of us are going to be using the lower grade, all right? So I just wanted to share a bit of my research as well with this. It's very important to use filtration. I always use shower filters. Always, always, always. Your skin is your largest organ of the body. I promise you, the best thing you can do is invest in a shower filter and then any other kind of distillation that you can have for your water. I'm not a huge fan of reverse osmosis personally. I prefer structuring my water in a different way. So I'm going to tell you how. The structuring and charging is what restores the water's natural charge. And this is the most important step. Okay, because reverse osmosis alone is not enough. It's not remineralized and it's not structured. So what you can do is a few different things, and I wanted to give you some different options as well. You can get things like crystal quartz. That's great for charging and structuring water. So you can literally buy crystal quartz and clear crystal quartz and make sure it's not the polished, if anything, use the raw version and put it in the water. You get a glass jug and you put it in, or beside it, that's fine. I've also used copper cups before. You can use a vortex device. So those like hydrogenated bottles that you can get, or even the Alanema wand. I wanted to put a photo of it. I can actually attach some links when we're doing the questions at the end. I'll attach the links to some of these tools. Then we have the remineralization. So adding the minerals back is very important, and using high quality salts. Now, I personally I use this. Oh, you see, I have one of my clear quartz crystals. I use Okinawa minerals. Many of you know. I don't know if it's blurred. And this is by the Health Factory. This is in a powder form, and it's all nanotechnology. I absolutely love getting the minerals in the nanotechnology because they are absorbed straight away. They do not need to be metabolized in the same way as other supplements that have bulking agents and specific capsules. These are 100% absorbed, whereas most supplements are only absorbed up to 40%. So another thing as well is they all come in dark violet glass. The amazing thing that you can do when the product finishes inside, you don't throw away that glass. It's so valuable. You can literally, there are bigger bottles that they come into. You can pour your water in there and actually charge your water in there. It helps to structure it because light biology affects your water and also the actual containment of it. So it's really important that it's always stored in glass rather than plastic. Now, I myself am still, also just moved, getting plastic bottles, but I do my best to structure. Now I'm upgrading slowly as well with certain things. I do my best to structure it and add certain technologies that are going to help with structuring the water. Well, that's really important. I will also link the minerals that you can get from the Health Factory from the Netherlands, because I highly will recommend why they're so important. But you can also add in natural sea salt. Malta or Mediterranean, especially Malta and Gozo, we have very good sea salt. I just want to highlight that the trend of Celtic sea salt, because the way it's made in a lab, is laying it out on an actual plate with artificially curated sun to dry it out and evaporate. Like that's how they make the Celtic salt. The benefits of, we do that on our salt pans, but we do it naturally and we gather the minerals of the rock as well. So it's Malta, we're very good salt. So I wouldn't worry too much or buy into the trend of Celtic salt. Okay. And then there's something known as purple bamboo salt. That's also another option. And then building easy water, which is called exclusion zone water. This is Dr. Gerald Pollack's 4th phase water. What I just wanted to state is that our body is made up of exclusion zone water to a point. Our fascia is an extracellular matrix, okay? It's made up of collagen fibers. It's made up of literally this glucopolysaccharide fluid. And it's really important that we charge this. Otherwise, we become very stiff and rigid. And when we have gone through a lot of things like certain trauma, injuries, scar tissue, whatever that may be, from operations, poor food, you're eating a lot of processed food, you're not hydrating well, you drink a lot of coffee. If you're on the contraceptive pill, you're taking specific medications, even when it comes to certain weight loss interventions, So I know that there are all of these Ozempics and whatnot. That's doing a lot of damage to the liver and it's affecting the body's mineral balance. So that is going to affect our fascia completely and how able we are to actually move fluid properly and move these toxins. So here are 3 ways that you can actually build your exclusion zone water naturally. One is the exposure to sunlight. It's beautiful. Like sunlight, actually, the rays, heat, even from the saunas, they help to build our easy or exclusion zone water, and also the earthing, connecting to the earth's negative charge, like going grounding. That's why you see how it's all connected to the kidney meridian, the one I mentioned, that's directly from your foot. But it's funny, we don't have to intake the water to build our own internal water. So I just find that absolutely fascinating. And also the heat from saunas. You don't need to do a lot. I never recommend doing more than 20 minutes at a time, but it's also very beneficial. Even very hot baths, like taking a salt bath and taking a nice hot bath, you're combining the heat with actually remineralizing through the skin. Very, very important. Do you have any questions, guys? Because I know I've been blabbering a lot. Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. Then we have a little something I wanted to include by the quantum physicist Dr. Jerry Rivera Duhenio, and he believes that H2 water is basically known as dead water to a point. I'm not going to go into the quantum physics of it, or the chemistry rather. I'm definitely not going into the chemist side, because it's not the area I would want to focus on. But what I do want to actually state is that the real atomic living water is actually hydrolase, and you have more molecules in there rather than just a hydrogen and an oxygen molecule. Okay. And when we are working with structuring our water, we'll start to realize that we have been more thirsty than we actually thought. This is why a lot of people, it's like they drink, but they don't feel satisfied, if that makes sense. So how I see it is that in the body, our water, our internal waters, because that's what they were called in the ancient time, waters, not water, it's not passive. It literally lives in this living matrix. And all of that is infused with light, minerals, movement, and the electrical charge. Without either of those, we cannot function well. And this is the first stage that I nourish everyone with when it comes to healing and detoxification. I promise you, it's not about the cleanse you do or the supplements you're going to take. It's starting with this first, and that's how we're going to get into a coherent state. I like to say the body is always ready to reorganize itself. We just have to know how to guide it. So here in a coherent state, water is going to be more structured and responsive. Your fascia remains really supple and communicative, and your breath can expand three-dimensionally, like it's going in all the directions when you're expanding your rib, your diaphragm. Really important to get all of that lymphatic fluid up and going to the drainage sites. And then fluids will be able to move with ease, and the nervous system can regulate efficiently. That's so key. They go hand in hand, because you see your fluid then can affect your breathing mechanics because of muscular tension and postural alignment. That's going to then affect how your fluids move, which is going to affect also your nervous system state. When you're incoherent, the water is becoming less organized, fascia becomes really restricted, and it densifies. It almost like calcifies and becomes very thick. Even around scar tissue, people will feel really painful. My God, my English. They will feel pain when massaging it, or it might feel bumpy. Then the breath will become shallow, or it just goes vertical. So people are doing a lot of this breath, like they're doing that a lot rather than breathing in that full dimensional rotation. That's going to slow down lymph and circulation. And then the system is going to stay in the fight or flight hyperactive immune response. Okay. So the detoxification pathways. Our detox pathways are something that is done in stages. It's never just one thing. Okay. And this is why it's really beautiful that we have seasons for everything. You don't have to detox every time all year round. Your body already knows how to do that by itself. My goal is to get your body in balance and in coherence as much as it can be throughout the year, so that you don't have to worry about all of these interventions. You only know how to just give it some support at certain times. The market is selling you cures, it's selling you massive interventions, thinking that it's what you need, but you don't. So phase 1, we have phase 2, and then we have phase 3. The phase 1, we need more of like the B vitamins, folic acid, glutathione, vitamin E and C, carotenoids, the antioxidants, and we can get all of these from foods. Very important to know. But that's why it's important that our digestion is optimal too, because if you're not absorbing certain nutrients, then that's going to be a bit of a struggle. And I know some people don't. So this is why we have to take this step by step. It's not just, you're not going to do a 30-day cleanse. And working with me, I tell people if they think that they're going to get, a 30-day thing or a 60-day thing, it doesn't work like that. Sometimes you literally need 6 to 12 months of full repair. And that is the best way. Anyone else I've seen who does something different, later down the line, they always suffer. Always. So I think it's very important to address this individually to your needs. And then we have phase 2. What we need for phase 2 is amino acids, glycine, glutamine, taurine, cysteine. Those are really, really important amino acids, and the non-essential ones as well. Which is funny that they call it non-essential, but they are very essential. And you need protein. You're going to find it in protein. This is why I tell women, you need to make sure you're eating enough protein in your day, because it's so important to get specific amino acids for detoxification. If you are vegan, that is something that I'm not going to try change your mind or force you to eat meat, but I do want to encourage you to understand that there is a specific amino acid profile that is only found in meat. And for a certain amount of time, you might have it as an intervention to heal. And then you'll notice that you just feel so much better. So sometimes it's temporary as well. You might need to increase your protein intake for a short time, and then you can taper it back down. Again, it depends. That's going to help to convert everything into the waste products. And then it's eliminated through all of those elimination pathways, as you can see with the arrows down: skin, sweat, gallbladder, bile, kidneys, urine, okay? And of course the colon. When we do a liver protocol and we detox, we're actually working backwards. We're not starting with the phase 1. We're starting with phase 3, which is the gallbladder support. Liver and gallbladder, I'm always on like supporting that through the foods, through specific herbs, through your sleeps, through a lot of healing and nervous system work. Then we reduce the inflammation, so toxins can get out of the liver and into the bile. That's phase 2.5. And then the phase 2 liver is supporting the sluggish pathways. And then phase 1. So we always want to make sure that the liver has enough nutrients to support that detox. Okay. Some people have certain deficiencies, and I would maybe run specific tests. There are things like the O test, organic acids test. I can look at the metabolites. I can see what you're deficient in. There's also a hair tissue mineral analysis test. And we have a clinic that does that here in Malta as well, in person. That's also a very powerful tool as well. So those type of testings are something I also recommend. What isn't commonly acknowledged in detox work are going to be certain pressure points, acupressure. And we can do this on ourselves. Certain things like what we call the Dao Shu, which is located in that area. This is the image on the top left. That's actually very helpful to expel, to actually help to expel and enhance the body's ability to resist toxins. It's almost like your barrier from the back, like a shield. Okay. And then we have the gallbladder 20. You can literally do this where you feel the little divots in from either side, and you can massage every day a little bit. You can massage that for a few seconds in circular motion, or just apply pressure pushing upwards. And that's actually also used to treat a lot of headaches, migraines, but it helps to expel pathogens as well, because we're working on stimulating the gallbladder. Now, I want to just highlight from a nervous system standpoint, the brain and the interface from the C1 to the C7 of the cervical spine. Because most people who are struggling with hypersensitivity, sensitivity to food, sensitivity to everything, they would have certain inflammation around C1 to C7 and the brainstem. So the brainstem, where you can see is right, I'm not sure if you can see my arrow pointing, it's right here, right literally where you see the atlas and C1. The brainstem in itself is literally going to regulate so many things in our body, our vagal tone. It's going to help us with our reflexology and our peripheral vision. It's helping us with literally how we can actually regulate our own biology, our own circadian rhythm, everything. And it's like the interface that detects, it's a detector, right? You detect safety, you can rotate. When we are struggling from a nervous system standpoint, it's actually going to be correlated to one thing, the nervous system, which is the ability for your processing and how you're taking in information. If you're constantly in fight or flight, you have a very narrow myopic vision, and that's going to also affect the way you're holding yourself, more forward, more directed, less in reception. And this all actually still affects how posture, tension patterns start to build in the body. That also correlates with the phrenic nerve, which is on both sides. But I see a lot of inflammation because the liver and the gallbladder, they swell during this time in spring, like when the flowers blossom, okay? And there's a bit of swelling, and it's normal for us on the body, even on the right side, to have slightly larger organs than on the left. Even the diaphragm slightly larger on the right. So it's a cyclical phase. This is why the allergies increase a lot, because things are heightened if there's stagnation there. But that can inflame the phrenic nerve, which can also cause certain tension, headaches, discomfort, pain. And I see that a lot. So the C1 to C7 are not just the neck bones. They are a high bandwidth data trunk. And they carry a lot of sensory input from the body to the brain and our autonomic motor complex, our motor mechanics, our nervous system. It's actually going to decide the question over and over, am I safe enough to stay present here? You guys have this recorded as a reference, by the way, because I wanted to put a few things that are like a staple of mine for women, especially around the cycle. Pu'er is something I would say start in the morning with, a pu'er tea, as long as it's an organic one or a really good quality one. There's a specific tea shop, I forgot the name right now, but it's in the Hilton in Malta, in the Hilton Hotel. And as you go in on the left, that's where I bought my pu'er tea from. That's bitter. It actually helps to clear a lot of phlegm and the dampness that we would accumulate from the winter, and helps to digest certain fatty foods. It moves a lot of stagnation. So it helps to actually start to move things. Okay, it's going to help the liver. It's going to help metabolize. It's like a little bit of a cleanup. Okay, but I would recommend that you do it if you're feeling very sluggish, very heavy, stagnation that you have, or like this. Yeah, I wrote this sticky feeling because it's literally like you feel like, oh. So pu'er tea is great. Then we have jujube. Love them. They're basically red jujube dates. They're really high in antioxidants. They have about 7 times the antioxidants than blueberries. And you can find them from the Asian stores here in Malta and Gozo. It's Wenshu. They sell the jujube dates. And these, I like to boil them in a concoction, in a tea for 10 minutes, maybe sometimes with ginger, or you can just boil it alone. You drink the tea, and you can also chew on 1 or 2 dates for really blood building. It really helps to tone that spleen and that liver and nourish more of your yin. In Chinese medicine, that's the calming energy, the calming hormones, like progesterone. It's nourishment, okay? So that's definitely going to be helping you build more blood and actually builds the quality of your blood too. So if you notice that you maybe suffer with anemia, dizziness, fatigue, insomnia, dry eyes, anxiety, right? That heart needs more support, go for that. I like to do this after my bleed as well. Okay, do you guys have any questions? No, all right. Okay, so when it comes to pathogens, it's all about your terrain. Why do parasites, pathogens, viruses, why are they there? They only invade when the internal terrain has been weakened. Only. There's the resonance drops. And the spleen, which helps with the digestion of your fluids, and the kidneys, they are very important to be nourished. So this is why also in spring, people, they think that, yes, the sun is coming out and it's important to still nourish yourself with warmth, especially women. I myself had to drill this into my brain as well. Now I'm in short sleeps because I'm fine, but I need to then warm myself up. It's not time to just, walk barefoot everywhere. It's still important to keep yourself warm. Damp plus heat equals a fertile swamp. Think like mosquitoes, where you find them, right? So parasites, viruses, they all thrive in this damp heat. If you consume a lot of dairy, yogurts, a lot of the type of dairy, and then you have inflammation, that's damp heat. And that's going to make you feel sluggish and it's not going to be able to help you heal. So I usually actually say omit the dairy for some time. Okay. I'm not going to go into the Wei Qi right now. You can come back. I just want to cycle through a few more things. I also did want to state that the damp heat shows up a lot in the skin. And it's going to even make your skin secrete this slightly sweeter, stickier scent and sweat through the pores. And that's why mosquitoes become more drawn to people who have damp heat. I learned this from one of my teachers in Thailand, and literally they say it in a bit of a different way. But I remember one of the teachers saying, if mosquitoes are drawn to anyone, they have sick blood. And the sick blood, that's literally referring to this sluggishness. Okay. And that's why people would be more receptive to that. But the sweet blood thing isn't actually literal. Okay. The only issue is that when we have a lot of viral load, certain things activate them. So some people feel worse in the sun. They feel horrible when they go in saunas because they actually have underlying viruses. And then the virus gets triggered by the heat. And it's either they get a flare, they get hives, they would get rashes. There's usually underlying pathogenic loads there. And you can test for this even by doing bioresonance testing. So that's another type of testing. You can contact me if you would need any support with this. So from a quantum morphogenetic physics aspect, let's say the quantum realm, the more subtle, the viruses and parasites, they exist in certain distorted frequency bands. They're going to resonate with a lower frequency, okay? So if you are constantly angry, frustrated, there's no type of protection or things that you do in your life that are actually strengthening you through prayer, through somatic work, actually helping to build your energetic field. This is like an entry point. It's like having holes and tears in a net and things can come through. That's the best way that I can explain, like a fragmented auric field. Okay. And this means it could come from trauma, implants, unresolved timelines. I know it might sound hard to tap into that, like when we're talking about specific consciousness and past, but it's all relevant. It's relevant to you, your journey, what you've experienced so far, the patterns with your family dynamics, it's all relevant. So in the work that I do, even in the somatic work, in the one-to-one sessions or symptom decoding, all of this is being addressed at once. Okay. Another huge thing is energetic debt. Where are you giving your power away? Do you set boundaries? Do you say yes when you mean no? Do you allow specific people in your life who are not reciprocating? This creates this open feeding loops. And that is actually going to keep you at a specific resonance. And I can assure you, I have learned through this the hard way. And I have done many, many different cleanses over the last 5 years specifically. So I understood this a lot related to the emotional component. And that was a huge factor. Boundaries are so important. Distorted harmonics, so the overuse of certain frequencies like fear, victimhood, depletion, they all match parasitic resonance. Then we have candida. Candida is not a fucking nice one because it's really sneaky. It can become dormant. So candida is like a yeast infection, right? Maybe women sometimes are more familiar because we all have candida albicans. We all have the specific candida and yeast in our body. But the problem is when it gets imbalanced and there becomes this multiplication. So sugar feeds that. Sugar, excess sugars, and certain dampness. Again, the dampness in the body. What happens is that it can go into this dormant hibernation state when it's being attacked. By attacked, even when you're applying certain interventions to treat it. So some of it will die off, but if it's paralyzed and the immune defenses via specific mycotoxins and gliotoxins, they migrate to other parts of the body. And then it can receive enough nutrients to be resilient, to be killed, to be attacked. So it sometimes doesn't leave the body. It just migrates in specific areas, okay? And what worsens this is downregulated stomach acid and biliary sludge. So literally, when we are not supporting that part, like I mentioned, the liver, the bile ducts, our digestion, this is where things can get out of hand because bile is antibacterial. When bile is sluggish and we haven't supported our liver function, everything else is possible, like candida, H. pylori infection, SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Those are very, very common. So the signs of low bile flow are bad taste in the mouth, arthritis or other rheumatic pain after eating certain foods, watery eyes. Oh, I make so many typos. Constantly needing to clear one's throat. My sister does that a lot. It's the constantly. Cold body temperature, sugar and refined carbs cravings, tinea, ringworm, athlete's foot, and gut dysbiosis and infection. Also, indigestion. I really wanted to write that down. Indigestion is another big one. So I'm going to get you to do a little bit of an exercise right now. If you can sit, maybe you're on a chair, at the edge of a sofa, on a bed. I need you to get to the edge, okay? I'm actually going to take you with me and we're going to do this together. So you're going to sit on the edge of a surface. Make sure that your feet are going to be 90 degrees. This is a diaphragm and organ reset. So we're actually going to work on the liver and the spleen and stomach at the same time, as well as the diaphragm to really open you up. Now you might feel some slight discomfort if you have some inflammation and stagnation. If you've just eaten, don't do this. You can come back to it later. So what we're going to do, with the power of your hands and your breath, you're going to place your fingers right in that, we call it the xiphoid process, that fleshy bit, literally underneath your chest bone and between the ribs. Okay? So you're going to place your fingers right there, almost like the little fingers, right? So you're in like a scooping, cupping position. And what you're going to do is you're going to take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, you're going to fold over, exhaling, and really allowing yourself, you can open your legs, allowing the pressure and the weight of your body to compress. Now stay there. You're going to take another deep breath in, but loosen your fingers a bit. Exhale again. Sink into those fingers. Sink, 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 sink. And now push your fingers down. You can either scoop, like you're literally scooping, and you can move your fingers around. Deep breath in. Release slightly. Exhale again, fold forward more. Allow your body to be heavy, release into your hands, scoop up with your fingers. And almost you can push down. So it's like you're scooping up, but then you're pushing down towards the belly button. So we're going to do that one more time, and you're going to move more towards the side, the lateral ribs, okay? So we're going to take a deep breath in. Exhale. Fold forward. Let your body sink, sink, sink. Push towards the belly button. It might hurt even a bit more on one side or feel uncomfortable. Stay there. Breathe in again. Exhale. Press that little bit more. Move your fingers around. More to the side. Come up and take a deep breath in. And just give your body a moment. The body always takes time to catch up, okay? And I'd like you to place your hands on either side of your ribs. And your next inhale, you're going to breathe into those hands, into the side. Trying to expand the ribs as much as you can without raising the chest up. So see if that's possible. And if you can't do it in one go, you can do it in parts. So it will sound like this. And usually in parts helps. And that's going to help create some more space. So I'm going to grab you. We're going to come back, just settle into a bit of your sensations right now. Okay, how are you feeling? How did you feel after that exercise? I'm curious. You can even unmute yourselves if you want to share anything. Okay. I'm going to go into just briefly on the type of parasites. I'm not going to dive super into this. We have protozoa, helminths, and ectoparasites. Brief. The protozoa are single-celled, okay? But they divide in their host, being you. They're not seen by the naked eye. We can kill single-celled parasites with something like nanosilver. Also, the Health Factory does nanosilver. That kills single-celled parasites, doesn't kill any other type of parasites. It's usually transmitted via fecal matter, insect bites, or blood. So think like even from a tick, Lyme disease, all can come through there as well. Then we have helminths, the worms, the larvae, the multicellular. They may be visible to the naked eye. They may also activate the herpes virus. So if you have an underlying herpes virus, then if you have certain parasitic infection, it can activate it, okay? There's also a way that you can actually reverse the herpes or bring it into that really dormant state, and that's usually by taking a higher dose of L-lysine. But again, I would really recommend that you consult with myself or another practitioner to guide you alongside something like that. Roundworms, pinworms, those kind of things, you see them in kids a lot. If they're itching, itchiness, that's extremely normal, especially with kids. They're eating dirt and licking tables. So I know this from my niece. So I just want to show you. I use the Rogers Hood Apothecary blends when it comes to doing deeper parasitic work, which you need specific remedies to kill these motherfuckers. And you need specific binders. But I just want to emphasize why this masterclass is so important, that you don't just do a parasite cleanse, because it is not recommended if you haven't supported through the drainage funnel and a few other things that I'm going to mention. Then we have the ectoparasites, like the bed bugs, mosquitoes, ticks. Again, think the bloodsuckers. They're thirsty on blood and they live outside of their host, transmitted as a bacteria like Borrelia, Lyme disease. But our immune system is designed brilliantly, okay? So the symptoms, like mostly, if you have a pulse, you have a parasite. We say that in functional medicine. But the symptoms are going to come out if the terrain, the environment has become yeah, the type of host to host that party. So if you eat bad foods, you drink, you smoke, you don't sleep well, you can't clear toxins out, you have a buildup of that trauma, unaddressed trauma, the lower vibrational frequencies within the body, that's going to create the environment and resonance for parasites. Okay. Another type of the helminths are going to be liver flukes. And I'm mentioning this because this is so common. They look like, sorry, like rolled up tomato skins when they're eliminated. And they're very common when we're dealing with the anger in the liver. There's a lot of that, even passed, they can be passed down generationally. So just to let you know that. So if there's a lot of that, like anger in the family, I also like look there. Parasites can also be eliminated out of people's noses, urine, menstrual blood. They sequester 8 times their body weight in toxicity. So even when people eliminate in any way, they notice sometimes that there's a different smell, something's different. That could come through elimination as well. Here are some other signs of possible parasitic infection. So if you resonate with any of this, I see anemia as a big one. That is often mistreated by, oh, just here's an iron supplement. But then on bloods, the ferritin stores are depleted. Usually there's also a big kind of, let's say, puzzle piece that's put together with seeing people's liver panel, their basophils, their eosinophils on their blood work would actually be different. And that could be also the sign of the parasitic infection, but you can also test through bioresonance. I don't recommend testing through a stool test because parasites, they basically create a specific film that once they are eliminated through the stool, it dissolves them in less than 48 hours. So once they're shipped off and tested, they are non-detectable. The best way to detect them is through blood work. This is my method and my peers' blood work and specific resonance testing. So then we have autoimmune issues, food intolerances, teeth grinding, ovarian dysfunction, estrogen dominance and progesterone deficiency, persistent headaches and migraines. One side, especially the right side, usually the liver, itching, vibration and humming in the body. You feel almost like you're pulsing, crushing fatigue, flu-like symptoms, arthritis, air hunger, like struggling to breathe. All of that was something I dealt with, and I was also misdiagnosed with my autoimmune back then and mistreated. And imagine, I was just told I had to be on medication for the rest of my life. I was put on morphine, immunosuppressant drugs, you name it at the time. And I looked completely different to what I look now. I didn't include the photos to this one, but I was very puffy. I had terrible cystic acne. Many of you who know the journey know, but you can find it on my Instagram. We're soon going to come to the closer end. So the liver is a site of the thyroid hormone conversion, guys. So if you struggle with thyroid, you struggle with energy, or you notice that you've had a shift in your thyroid, I would look a little deeper, okay? Because the microbiome is responsible for 20% of our hormone conversion, but also the liver too. So it can be correlated. Now, studies have shown that lower levels of progesterone have increased risks of gut infection. And I just want to, again, emphasize how bile is anti-inflammatory and it's an antibacterial. Okay, so we really have to support women. As we grow older, we just have to do it. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this diagram where you can actually understand how certain ducts and flow of bile can become very constricted. Okay, so if it's moving like mud, it's really hard to get through. Another aspect of understanding your body, our body is always showing us signs, okay? The eyes, our skin. So if there's even things like small discolorations, etc., they actually have shown, like they can show mold, toxicity, heavy metal deposits. These are all things that can indicate. You know, nowadays, unfortunately, there's a lot of work being done that covers the way our body communicates. Even false nails, we can't see the certain health of our nails at times, or our body, because every finger is associated with a specific organ in Chinese medicine. So the body communicates. As I mentioned before, the anemia is a huge one, and it's not just about having low iron. Why is there low iron to begin with? And again, parasites feed on iron, so the body is going to shunt those ferritin levels as a protective mechanism. Supplementing is not going to solve the problem and the root cause. I also wanted to note a few points just in case anyone watching has any of this. The hemochromatosis is the genetic factor of low iron. If iron is high, it's a sign of liver congestion. Iron can appear normal, but ferritin can also be low, or both. These are always something I would investigate further, okay? And then the mental health aspect of parasitic infection is really important to understand, because they emotionally manipulate the host. And when we're clearing out certain things, parasites, they don't want to go. They're going to protest. They're going to resist leaving. They're like, fuck no, I'm not going. And you know what? Because they sequester 8 times their body weight in toxicity, they're like, okay, I'm going to hold the mold. I'm going to hold the metals from the vaccine. I'm going to hold other toxins that I've got in, like the candida. But if you kill me, I'm going to let all this shit go. And my byproducts of waste, like ammonia and other chemicals, that can really affect people. So if you just go into a parasite cleanse and you're like, oh, I'm going to do a parasite cleanse, and you haven't done the supportive work before that, you are not going to feel good. And usually the gut will suffer, the colon might take a hit, or the kidneys as well, if again you're not supporting yourself or you haven't taken certain minerals. Parasites, sorry, I'm gonna just 1 second. The emotional side of cleansing, and when you're working through deeper layers of healing, you're working through grief, through anger, through healing abuse, specific relational dynamics. This stuff is all going to come out. And it's really important to support your physiology in the meantime, because we don't want to keep that resonance there and the terrain as a host for pathogens. So pathogens, they also impose and influence your nervous system state. Sometimes people think, oh, I'm anxious, and maybe it's because of the trauma, maybe it's because of what I'm processing. Sometimes, but for me, it's always a yes and. Because sometimes you just have underlying infection, and that is what's contributing. Sometimes it's even something as simple as low vitamin D, or which makes a person very high in OCD and very anxious if they have low vitamin D. So this is why you can't just look at through one lens. Like, we have to look at everything. And parasites, they use acetylcholine, which is the main neurotransmitter in the gut, which also moves your bowels, for its nourishment. Hence why we need to support the body with the elimination. That's really, really important. Because low levels of that neurotransmitter, they lead to constipation, brain fog, fatigue, increased inflammation, memory issues, muscle weakness, and even poor REM sleep, the deep REM sleep that you should be getting at night. Do you have any questions so far? Okay. All right. Wrapping up now. I'm just going to go through the last little pieces. When it comes to the immune system, parasites actually increase dopamine levels to trick you. Dopamine is a reward-seeking behavior neurotransmitter. It's going to look for things to reward itself with. So it might, obviously, the inclination might be for false dopamine. This is why people try to get a hit with food or with other things. And then that's doing its own harm. But what that's doing, the release of the dopamine, is just calming the immune system so it doesn't need to fight off the bacteria, the viruses, the pathogen. Okay. And that's what it does to migrate. Parasites are most active in laying eggs around the new moon and hatching around the full moon. So I see increased symptoms in those times. And then the cleansing window should actually be between the new moon and around the full moon, and continuing it after. So it's usually for 30 days, and you're going to start around the new moon and continue that on till the next new moon, technically. And that's super important because you're getting through everything. And sometimes more than one is necessary because it depends on the severity. It depends completely. But it's very important to take breaks as well in between cleansing and nourishing the body. So there's a hierarchy to healing, and you have to make sure that you are not going too hard, too fast, you know? So I'm going to also provide you with a little bit of something to start with to flush and open your bile ducts without going into deep cleanses. That's something for deeper work. And I have a whole program for that I guide you with. But this is something I can actually give you. And you can come back to this and look at it. And I promise you, it's going to really support you along your journey. Parasites are also going to use up something like GABA. And I'm mentioning this because GABA it helps us feel calm. It puts space between the words. Okay. Even in people who are autistic and on the spectrum, it's really important to understand that we have to support GABA levels, because even in autism, GABA levels are lower and glutamate is higher. And that's where there's even the fast, impulsive talking. GABA is going to be really helpful. And we also need to clear any excess heavy metals and parasites from the body, and especially in people who are neurodivergent. So that's something I really learned along the way. When GABA is low and when they're using that up, it can lead to apathy, chronic pain, low stomach acid, inflammation, the ADHD, panic attacks, etc. Okay, I'm gonna go through this. So this is the flush that I would like to give you. Okay. And I've written as easily, hopefully understandable as possible for you to explain this combination. We have Epsom salt, not the kind that you put in the bath, not the external use Epsom salt, the food grade. It's food grade Epsom salt. In Malta, Brown's Pharmacy sell the food grade Epsom salt. You have to find out wherever you are listening and tuning in from to get this. But it's magnesium sulfate, which is going to relax the smooth muscles, including the bile ducts and the intestines. And it's going to draw the water into the intestines, creating this osmotic effect to then push and increase the bowel movement likelihood. Then we have sodium bicarbonate. Okay, so that's going to buffer the acidity. It's going to increase more of that systemic alkalinity in the body temporarily, reduce any irritation from acids. And that's really important for women, especially women who are struggling with acid reflux. Again, they haven't had the right enzyme function in the body. Okay, it's going to help to shift your pH environment. Vitamin C, the ascorbic acid, that's going to stimulate bile flow. It's an antioxidant. It's going to help with phase 1, phase 2 detox pathways. A little bit of apple cider vinegar, okay? And then the warm water as well. So what we're talking about, even in terms of the doses, I have a specific flush document that I can actually send you. So you can contact me and I'll send it to you. I will put a post on my Instagram as well regularly, especially right now in this month of April, that you can tune in, and it will have an automation. So once I tell you to come and flush, you can just receive the document as well. So you can message me or you can wait for that. Okay, and it's very important you drink this on an empty stomach. Try not to, this is my advice for you, try not to overdo it with even herbal teas, and especially at night, like the detox teas. Especially not at night, because you're going to inhibit your natural detox pathways. It's going to strain them. If you want to do detox teas like the dandelion, the milk thistle, very beneficial for the body, for your bile ducts, for your liver, especially milk thistle, dandelion, nettle, great. I just wouldn't do them after 7 p.m. Do them before. Okay, that's my recommendation. The main job of the flush is to move fluid, relax the smooth muscle, and stimulate your elimination pathways. It's not because people think, oh, I'm doing a detox flush. It's not actually pulling out toxins directly. Like, we're not doing that. That's not the main job of the flush. My main job is to actually start to do what your body needs more of to then enhance its ability to detox. Okay. And then when you want to dive into deeper cleanses, you're prepared, right? This is where people get it wrong. Like, they dive straight in. So this is really important that you start strategically. Okay. If you are severe and you have severe cases of toxin load symptoms, these are my non-negotiables. Like, I definitely recommend you either do enemas or go for a colonic. I understand not everyone wants to do enemas, which is literally a type of drainage that you're helping your body yourself with actually filling yourself up with water, your intestines. But with an enema, you're only going to basically half the half part of the transcending colon. You're not going down all the way to the ascending colon, which is the ascending colon is where a lot of parasites could reside, or certain toxin load. What's great is about the descending colon, you're going to remove any kind of encrusted fecal matter, things that have built up there, even parasites that would be there in the intestinal wall. It's going to help. Coffee enemas are great. They help to widen the bile ducts. They increase your glutathione production. They wire people a lot. Like, some people, it's too stimulating for them. But it is very helpful. But you can do different types of enemas. Wheatgrass, lemon and water, warm water, or just, again, go for a colonic if that is easier for you. But I would definitely recommend it if you're doing like deeper cleanses. And when you're cleansing, it's always going to create a little bit of an inflammation response. It's a stress on the body. Okay. And I really, really say, like, support your liver and your kidney health and those pathways. One of my favorite supplements for this as well is the Kale Support by Cellcore. There are others, so you can speak to me directly if you need support with that, because it really depends on your constitution. But just know that the main non-negotiables that I list are non-supplemental. Increase sleep. Please prep your body always. Like, detoxing is a stress and rest is really important. Yoga Nidra is great. It's a form of non-sleep deep rest. Okay. And that is the NSDR. It's really, really restorative for the body. And there are many research papers that are done to support this. Movement, specifically weights, but not too much. Like, even once or twice a week is enough. But they're crucial because they have an effect on the body that actually the muscles secrete what are called hope molecules. And they act like these micro messengers that send signals to other parts of the body to directly assist them to become stronger and healthier. Isn't that cool? And also, not to mention, helping our bone density, our glucose metabolism. Okay, so those are very important. And sunlight. I'm going to go back to the sunlight aspect. Sunlight is everything. Okay. It doesn't have to be directly too much in the peak hours. The infrared rays of sunrise and sunset are very powerful. You can also use a near infrared light device too. Infrared builds exclusion zone water. That's also really important. If you can, not everyone is able to, and I don't recommend cold plunging for everyone, especially not for women. Depends where you are in your cycle, depends what you can tolerate. If you have, I know one of you on this call has severe mast cell activation, immune reaction. I would not recommend doing anything like cold plunging because that will enhance it. Okay. You can swim, go in colder water, end your shower with slightly cooler temperature for a minute. That's going to help reduce the inflammation, but not extreme cold. Okay. If you are a facilitator as well, this is something for you guys, and this is something I learned myself. Boundaries matter most for facilitators. They matter for all of us, but facilitation is co-regulation. Your field meets another field. This is why it's so important. The work we do as practitioners It's really important for us to maintain our boundaries, physical, energetic, because we need to make sure that we're keeping our field clean and that nothing is also recursing or supporting others in their field. Okay? Anything can be reversed. But it's also important to know not to take anything on, because there are lots of the martyrs. I definitely learned a lot through this. I did that for a long time. And that, like, I remember even after sessions, I used to have flare-ups with my skin. And I was like, why is this after I have sessions? And I used to understand like where my body was processing certain things. So just understand that your body does not need to create this. There's no need for the self-abandonment in order to be of service. Okay? Your field is that multi-layered egg and ovum, and it holds patterning, permission, these little ports. So if you have unresolved entanglements, and I'm going to mean this for partners that you've had even sexual interactions with, like working on clearing your field and clearing yourself from those experiences are also very important, really important. Okay, because they can leave open loops. They can be experienced as specific cords or hooks. So a way to strengthen your auric field, that Ka body that's practiced in the Egyptian internal alchemy, it's like your double twin, the part of yourself, and then that magnetizes outwards. It's going to be even simple things like directed breath work, exposure in the sun, and imagining almost like the sun is in your stomach, like you swallow the sun, okay, and expanding that light even outwards. But these simple techniques are very beneficial and very important as well, okay? Pathogens don't just enter weak bodies. They just stay in bodies that are conditioned and trained to give themselves away. It's like a partner that you refuse to say no to, or someone that's taken you for granted for so long and you just haven't said how you feel or chosen yourself. Exactly the same. Like toxic relationships are literally called toxic because they're stealing your life force energy. They are taking you out of alignment. And a hospitable host is not someone who is broken, unlucky, or like there's something wrong with them and they're destined to stay that way, or because, oh, it runs in the family. No, the pattern runs in the family. The pattern of disempowerment, of loose boundaries, and of not nourishing oneself. So it's someone's system who learned really early on that survival required sacrifice, self-erasure, which means like literally like, oh no, I'll stay small and they can do that, and not stepping into your power, not stepping into your worth, sacrificing yourself. That literally becomes encoded in the body. Okay, and that's where the residence happens. So density, that dense body, you become dense and heavy. Why we say, oh my God, that person has really heavy energy, or like there's a weird vibe. It's literally the density in their whole field. And this comes from low redox, low charge, from not having enough sunlight, from dehydration, literally being sluggish, the guilt, a lot of the emotional stuff that they've carried. All of that is in the field. Okay, I have documents called the Redox Before Detox. Some of you have already got this. You can go to some of my posts that already have, these kind of the actual queue, and then you can comment Redox and literally get it, or literally send me a DM. No worries at all, and you'll receive the document straight up. Okay, but the redox part before the detox is extremely important, and I have a whole free guide on this to make sure that you have electrons to detox properly. Okay, and then something I wanted to tell you as well is that you can detox through the skin. So you can do things like fulvic soaks. Okay, this is also from Rogers Hood Apothecary, or bentonite clay, where you actually put it around all your nodes. You mix it with some water, you make a clay mask, and you put it around all of your nodes, like your armpits, your neck, around your lymph nodes, or on your groin. That's really beneficial because it helps to draw the toxins out from those areas. Those things you can already start with from now. They're already fine. Even in baths, really beneficial. Okay. But it's really important that your cells have enough electrons to do the work. Otherwise, you're just gonna be stuck. Hence minerals. I'm not like, it's my broken record. And this is why I really recommend, like, the Okinawa minerals are so worth it. And you just grab the Okinawa minerals and you put this in water and you drink it every day in the morning to remineralize. And then you're getting your daylight. Like, those are super, super important. Okay. So healing has to follow the body's natural hierarchy, and it's never linear. It's just not. So you may need to focus on the nervous system and the drainage for like 3 months. Some people need to focus on the nervous system piece for a while. Some need to stay a little bit more on the digestive piece. It's okay, but it's really important that you understand that it takes time and it's very individual. Do not just jump into a cleanse for the sake of jumping into it. And even when you are mixing herbs like milk thistle or dandelion, like, it's better you choose singular herbs and you work one by one and slowly rather than combining everything and not knowing when. And try to take them with a little bit of a fat, like omega-3. You can take fish oil, some olive oil, just a tiny little bit because they are more fat soluble. But again, if you're not going to do it with a specific protocol or guidance, it's better you do less than more. Okay, that's what I wanted to say, because your body isn't going to heal in a dysregulated state. So if you're not supporting yourself on a nervous system level, it's going to struggle. Okay. Here I wrote a little bit as to why the timing matters, and you can go back to this again. I wanted to more focus because we are in spring now. This is the time, the liver, the wood element. In winter, it was the kidneys, and I did workshops about that. In winter, it was the kidneys and the water element. And that's why we needed a lot of warmth. It wasn't the time to detox. It was more about nourishment. Now it's all about cleansing, movement, renewal. You get more energy. You want to do things. You get ideas. Usually when you don't have a direction and you feel very irritated and frustrated, the liver is burdened. And so we need to clear that up. And that's going to give you so much more clarity, even about what you want. Okay, so we want to prepare first. So please redox before detox. All right, make sure we open up those elimination pathways so that we're not pushing the cleanse. And we're just going to recap. Nutrition, quality protein, the minerals, higher omega-3 to 6 ratio. Okay, your relationship to food and consumption is also mirroring our relationship to life through patterns. So how you're feeling about food is usually how you feel about life. And if you are distracted or feeling like you need to consume a lot, there's a part of you that is afraid of stepping into your power and creating, because you can't create and consume at the same time. It doesn't work. Okay. So check in with yourself. Just little check-ins throughout the day, like, why am I snacking so much? Do I really need this? What do I really want to create right now? What am I scared of pouring into? Okay, then we have the minerals, massive emphasis. That's going to be super important. If you're on any pills and medication, the contraceptive pill, those deplete minerals. Stress depletes your magnesium. It depletes vitamin C as well. You need to make sure that you're replenishing. Most of us are deficient. So minerals are important, and you can also do that through bath exposure in the bath, sea, swimming in the sea, not chlorinated pools. Especially if you live here on Malta and you're going to swim in a pool. We need to talk. Okay, then we have hydration. Hydration. I gave you an understanding of how to better structure your water. If you buy any products from the Health Factory, you can use my discount code TARA5. And don't throw away the glass bottles. I promise you it's going to help you structure your water better. Okay? Sleep. Your melatonin is an antioxidant. Make sure you sleep. Dental work. amalgams, cavities, metal fillings, breast implants. Those are all factors that I just want you to consider. If you have those, I really recommend that you get some assistance with the detoxification. Okay. And then the testing you can do, bioresonance, I can guide you with that. HTMA, I can guide you. And also dependent, sometimes people need an oats test, an organic acids test. Okay. That's something also I can help you with. And movement, slow movement. Okay. And especially what I favor is spiral movement. So moving in spiral. And you can dance walking in yoga, walking, yoga, yogic poses, or doing a lot of twists. So again, working with the spiral movement, really, really important for our fascia, helping with our lymph flow, all of that. And when we're detoxing, you can't detox faster than you're retoxifying the body. So it's really important that you assess your environment and you get rid of any root causes. If it's mold, dampness in the home, mold exposure, toxins like smoking and certain things that you think are actually really influencing your health, we need to tackle those, okay? As well as the disempowerment patterns, boundaries, who's in your environment right now? What relationship are you in that you know is taking your life force energy, that you know is stepping over your boundaries? That's something to address. And we really need to work with binders when we're detoxing. So if you don't have binders, and binders, I listed a few of them here. So again, you can go back and look at them. These are a few binders. I lost you for a sec. Those are a few of the binders. And you want to make sure that you are even sweating and getting things. You can put in propolis diffusers, air purifiers to help you. But sweat, sauna, that's going to help you too. Okay. I know I stayed a little bit longer as well. I know I kept you longer because we had a technical difficulty, but thank you for staying on, and thank you for those who tune into this later, because I know a lot of you wanted this recorded. So that's why I needed to make sure that I made this possible. Do you have any questions whatsoever? I'm just going to stop sharing. Okay. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, then I'm just going to end this here. And I just want to thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, you can go back to this. There was a lot of information, I understand. Go back to this, just reflect on some areas with yourself as well. And if you need support, remember, I offer the symptom decoding sessions, somatic work, and there's more support as well through a lot of the free content and the Science and Soul podcast. So I hope this helps along your journey. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good night.